I am Jacob Gabel.
I am Jacob Wurtz.
And this is the Untapped podcast.
Let's go, baby. It's good to be back.
I'm trying to throw like little spins on it every time, like switch it up a little bit.
Yes.
Hopefully it doesn't sound too funny for you guys.
Hey, I think as long as we're enthusiastic, I think people like that. We have fun with it, and we try to showcase that. So.
Well, now that you're talking about enthusiasm, I'm just gonna just deadpan the next one. It's gonna be like this Untapped podcast.
God, please don't do that.
Okay, fine, I won't. That's fine.
What's up, man? How we doing?
Dude, it's good to be back. It's really good to be back.
Yeah.
Watched some softball this week. Rough start to the season for you.
0-2 to start.
But then again, rough start for me too in hockey on this weekend too.
Yeah.
So we had some tough sports this weekend to say the absolute
the
least.
EX boys took quite a few L's this past week.
Well, yeah, because so your team had like 4 subs. Yeah. We were missing like 6 or 7 more players.
Yeah, and one
so
guy
both of us got hit hard.
And yeah.
And it's like, dude, this is a mess. So we kind of had like the bad bug with sports this week going on.
For sure.
It happens.
Yes. Yeah. I did hit a home run though.
That was sick. That was sick. Yeah. Shout out Chatley for hitting a home run. His first at
bat. Softball at bat, Jack's one. It's like, all right, man. Yeah, you can play.
He's like, you're on the team. Sign. You pulled a contract for him. It's like, oh my god.
Biggest thing, dude. That actually would have been really funny to do.
We should have done that. Oh my gosh.
I will do that. That's funny. But regardless of how the games ended up, both of us were happy to be back playing our sports.
Yeah, definitely.
We both had long breaks from hockey and softball, respectively, and it's always good to be back and playing sports,
I mean, it's one of those things, too, especially as dudes. Like, we relate to the idea of competition.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, neither of our leagues, like, they're not supposed to be, like, unbelievably serious, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, the dudes who compete in it, like your teams, my teams I play against, and the team I play on, we all take it seriously.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that competition that comes along with it.
Right.
And just, like, the masculine aspect of, going against somebody
yes.
in, like, not like a gladiatorial situation, but like the idea is
kind of instinctively like that. I mean, as far as like rec sports, like I get it. You're out there to have fun, get your body moving, but can anyone really tell me that there's no competitiveness? Like not even a little bit in you? Like come on, you're not out there.
Yeah,
even if it is just a pickup basketball game or something. Like even if you suck at basketball, it's still fun though. It's still competitive, and you still don't want to lose.
Yep.
But. Anyway, it's always good to be in that setting. I know we both enjoy that. But guys, episode 3 of season 2.
Yep.
We're going to continue on with covering all of our new formats, and then it'll kind of be random in a sense as to what format we use. But we wanted to be sure to cover all of them just so you guys kind of get an idea of what the formats are going to look like and why we did that.
Yep.
So today's episode is going to be an EXGentlemen episode. So
cool name.
Yes.
I wonder who came up with that
one. So you guys, this one will be a men-focused episode. I'm excited about this one. You
and I both love this topic,
yeah.
especially in the last year or two we've been working together.
Absolutely.
On too. So.
Well, and like the men's episodes, the EXGentlemen episodes, they're really productive, I think, too, because they're quick and we hit them hard. Sure. And it's not this long, drawn-out like episode where we're trying to just fill information in.
Right.
But like I think we enjoy it because it's also like we can just get straight to the point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you want to introduce the topic?
Well, yeah. Speaking of getting straight to the point, so the whole topic today, guys, is the idea of men being our duty as men is to be the provider.
Yes.
What does that mean? That means in relationships. That means for your employees, if you're owning businesses.
Yes.
That means also if you're an employee working for somebody, you should be providing a good service to that person.
Yes.
Pretty simple idea. Again, you could even relate it to sports as a provider there.
Sure.
You should be providing a good service as a good player on your team, etc.
Yeah.
So
good, being a provider to society too.
Absolutely,
it's a huge one
absolutely.
As well.
A good civilian like we said, we voted in the primaries on Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing. That's a provider aspect to it as
Providing your opinion, your thoughts, your wants is that's a part of what voting
is.
Your
voice.
I was about to say your voice. You're providing your voice.
No silent majority.
No, exactly.
None of that garbage.
Yeah,
so
right.
The idea of providing, as many of you of course know, providing is the idea of actually, for example, there's a quote from Chris Rock. So he basically says that women, children, and dogs are the only ones that are unconditionally loved in this world. Mm-hmm. It's a harsh quote. Men, we are judged off of what we provide.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, Wurtz and I are not going to sit here and tell you, oh yeah, and we're here providing for our women. One, I'm single. Two, Wurtz isn't married. He has just a girlfriend.
Right.
So it's like, we're not going to sit here and tell you that either of us are, one, making millions of dollars, because we're not. But we're also going to tell you we're aware of we will be, exactly. That's a difference maker right there. And we're also aware of the fact that we do have a duty to provide.
Yeah.
We talked about that in the last episode, how that is stressful. We do put a lot on our plate and whatnot.
100%.
But we're not under some disillusion that we can just sit around and do nothing and expect to be handed things. That's a big thing I've noticed. A lot of guys I talk to, it's like, she left me, and then I hear he's like, it's like, yeah, she'd get mad at me for playing video games and whatnot. I'm like, okay, how often did you play video games? Did you play video games every night and then ignore her all night or whatever? Right. And you didn't even attempt to take her out on a dinner date like 8 months into your relationship or whatever? Right. So, I mean, granted, that's a very specific example, but it's a good example of that reality.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And kind of to continue his point here, guys, we are well aware of working towards being those providers. Mm-hmm. Again, to reiterate what he just said, we are not under some illusion that we have already made it as these big time, providers for the world, for relationships, for family, for business that we have no employees for. Like, we are working towards being those providers and putting ourselves in those situations, And I think, you kind of brought it up, but I think this connects so well with that last episode. Just, that's where a lot of men's stress comes from, and men don't talk about it. That's why things like Brock Wilson doing the guys' night, like that's a situation where a bunch of guys figure out that they're all the same, that they're all feeling the same way, they all do the same thing to themselves, us included in that, But we have an understanding that this is what the male species is for. That is what we are here for, is to provide and to build and to do those types of things and to be that leader in the world and in the relationships and whatnot. And it's not to say that women can't be leaders or providers, but men are inherently here for that. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you kind of agree with that?
No, absolutely. Yeah. That's the difference maker right there, is you say inherently, like, it's in our biology to be that way. Exactly. Again, are there women who I've met that can be really good leaders? Yes, I have. Yeah. But for the most 90-something% of the part, the men are the better leaders almost every time. Yeah. So it's like, we're not on some disillusion on that reality either. Right. That, naturally we have a better inclination to go that way, to be a good leader, to be a good provider, that type of thing. And women tend to be more nurturing. It is what it is. And like, they're very good at that. Yes. I heard an example the other day, and it was probably from, I don't know, TikTok or something like that, of course. Mm-hmm. But it was the idea of like, I would never leave, my son or my daughter at an all-male nursery. No, absolutely not. I'd only leave it in an all-female nursery, because first of all, that's really weird if you're sending them an all-male nursery. Yeah, that's because again, women are better at nurturing. Yeah, absolutely. But you go to like a construction site. Actual women too, that is. Yeah, let's clarify biological that. Women. I hate that we even have to clarify that. But I mean, let's say you go to a construction site though, and the project managers are all men. That's something that a lot of the times, like, percentage-wise, you'd want to see. If we're dealing in extremes, which most of the time you don't have to in real life. But if you're doing extremes, like, I would rather see an all-male construction site of project managers leading the project. For sure. That's a reality, because a lot of times they'll be cooler-headed. If something goes wrong in the project, they'll be able to, back up, kind of reassess the situation, that type of thing. Yeah, and just logically think, like in this specific example of a construction site, logically think about solutions to that problem. The females typically, their first emotion, or their first thing is emotions that they get. And getting frustrated and flustered and upset and angry. And I agree with you 100% that in this situation, the men are going to handle themselves better. Definitely. And more often than not, that problem is going to have a solution, and they'll be able to work together. Now, if there's a problem at a nursery and it's all dudes, like, dudes are going to get flustered by a bunch of crying kids, and they're going to get mad, and then something bad happens. What are they going to know about changing diapers and whatnot? That's what I'm saying. They're going to be like, dude, I have to touch this baby's shit. Bro, this thing smells horrible. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and of course, the other implications of an all-male nurse are also really creepy. Yeah, that's extremely creepy. So it's the whole idea, guys, is that we are addressing the fact that as a man, you should be putting yourself in situations, which we've talked about this, putting yourself in difficult situations to make yourself better, so then you can become a better provider for, especially, it comes in, the best example is always in your relationship, for your wife and for your children. Yes. That is always the best example of that. If you put yourself in hard situations, you sharpen yourself like a knife or a blade or a sword, etc. and you put yourself in different situations and you make that the edge, so to speak, on your blade sharper, the better you are.
Yeah.
The more successful you are, the more level-headed you are with your wife, the more level-headed you are in dangerous situations if somebody breaks into your house, etc. Like that's why we talk about training too, with whether it's with firearms or just with combat classes and whatnot. It's all comes back to that idea of the provider.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, and you touched on this kind of in your intro. If you're a business leader, which we are working towards being that. If you're a business leader with a lot of employees, you have to provide for them too. Their livelihood
absolutely
depends on you. And this is something, again, I don't want to speak out of our bounds here because we don't have employees yet. We don't have people on payroll or anything like that, or anyone that depends on us. As a matter of fact, legally, we are probably still dependents on our parents for that matter. But this is something that a lot of business leaders like Ed Milet talk about a lot. Even Andy would be one of those, and talking about how their financials and their lives depend on those guys providing for them, providing a quality job, a quality career, a quality place to work, and a place that they're excited to come to. It's not just a drag on their mental state every day. They're excited to come to this company every day, come to this building every day, and work hard. And that has to be provided by the business leader, whoever it is, in whatever situation. Those are just two guys that we like to listen to a lot. In a combat situation, if you're the one in charge of your squadron, your platoon, or even if it's just a small 4-man team, and you're the one in charge, like you've got to provide the knowledge and the intelligence for those other guys so that people don't die. Or that your guys don't die.
That level-headedness.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So it all comes through training your mind in those ways, guys, and having an understanding that regardless of the crap world that we live in right now, as far as men being women and women being men and like all this other garbage, all these other distractions to real problems, you've got to understand the biological situation here. That males are supposed to be that. That's how we're made. That's how we're wired, so to speak. And there's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, it needs to be, what's the word I'm looking for there? Exploited?
I get what you mean. It
needs to be used.
It needs to be exercised.
Basically. Yeah, exercised. There you go. That's a perfect word. It needs to be exercised, and it needs to be trained, and it needs to be just exercise is a great word there. And you need to expand on it too.
Well, so you and I mean, exercise, and this is kind of the way I would describe where I'm going with that. You and I, especially, and we talk about this all the time. You and I have a very innate desire to dominate, and we want to put ourselves in situations where we're able to dominate. And dominating doesn't mean like controlling people or something like that.
Right. It definitely can have a
little Klaus Schwab action to it or something like that.
That definitely can have a negative tone to it.
But dominate basically means like Wurtz and I. The reason we're working towards a business is because we wanted to be the ability to provide for other people's families as well. So for example, if we have a bunch some other trainers below us or whatever in our company, we want to be able to put them in a situation where they can make as much money as possible and also provide for their family, their kids, whoever they're with, or for just themselves. So it's the exercising of that innate desire. Because by the way, you can't tell me as a man. Let's say you are in a really stress/depressed anxiety type of state. A lot of the times, if you are putting yourself in situations that are difficult and also trying to make yourself better, you can avoid problems like that happening too. And if at minimum you can minimize that effect of the depression, the anxiety at the back. If you're getting outside, you're getting after it. I mean, the other day, my brother and I, we got out in the rain and literally had it pour on us while we were doing bear crawls on a field.
That's awesome.
It was sick.
Yeah.
And I felt accomplished after. I felt ready to go for the rest of the day after. I felt like the day was a success in a way. So putting yourself in those situations, and that also means at work. So those of you that are employees, including Wurtz and I, put yourself in situations there and be the positive influence at work. Force that positivity. I don't care if that day you feel like shit. I've had to teach myself this at work because I'm like, man, I want to have my own thing going. But I'm like, I need to be a positive influence at work. I absolutely should be. I absolutely should be a good employee because guess what it does? It also brings the people up around you, helps the environment around you, and then it also makes you more successful in the same turn.
Exactly. No, and I think going back to your point about putting yourself in those hard situations. Obviously, we've had an entire episode called "Create Your Own Hard," but you also then learn how to suppress the immediate emotional responses that might happen.
Yep.
Because men are prone to that too. Like, it's not only women that have emotional responses.
Oh yeah, we're prone to anger a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that I definitely could struggle with sometimes, with a very short temper. Very at times.
I mean, that could indicate our suicide rate, and that could indicate our murder rate too.
Exactly.
Like that anger,
no, 100%.
When it's not used the right way, all of a sudden it goes into that type of stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And great point there, because again, if you don't learn how to suppress that immediate emotional reaction, because again, we're not saying men can't have emotions, but we are saying that men should not have, like, the first response from a man should not be emotional.
Yep.
You should be able to think logically and be able to work through a situation with solutions, and not just complaints and anger and all this other stuff. But if you can learn to suppress that immediate emotional response, you're in a really good spot.
Absolutely.
You're in a really, really good spot.
Yeah. So I have a good anecdotal example for myself. So one of the things that I had a problem with when I was... So high school, I got diagnosed with ADHD, as I told you guys. Sophomore year, I was 15 years old or 16 years old, I guess. And so I remember I started taking methylphenidate, which is, another form of Adderall, basically. Like, that would be the easiest way to describe it. Yeah, I was doing meth. Yep, that was the easiest way to calm me down.
It's probably not something we should joke about. We do not support drug use here.
Do not support drug use. But so I was doing what's called methylphenidate, and this thing was basically supposed to make me almost normal in a way.
Is this like a stronger form of Adderall?
This is like an extended release, and it was definitely strong. Like it definitely kicked me in the ass. But what I noticed as I got a little bit older is, like, it didn't help a little bit. Sure, it did help. It might have helped me, like, placebo effect, feel better or whatever. I'm not really sure. So I get into college and I'm on this. This is kind of where the example actually comes into play. So I'm freshman year, I go through it, and it's a frustrating year because school is just never agreed with me, as Wurtz and I have talked about and whatnot. And so I go into sophomore year at Iowa State University, and I remember I was still taking the pills then. I took it first semester, and I started realizing a lot of, when I actually did take it consistently, a lot of increase in anger issues. And so I would lash out. I never got physical, thank goodness. I mean, I can thank my parents for that and, like, being able to control that aspect of it. But the verbal was horrible when I had that. So what I did was I literally addressed that problem. I was like, okay, I think this is the only, because I was taking it, like, kind of inconsistently when I needed freshman year, so I don't think it had that same effect.
Is that something you're supposed to take daily? Typically,
not honestly, not really. It wouldn't be good for your body, I don't think, if you would do that. I took it when needed, like if I had a test coming up or something like that, like help me with studying.
So it kind of helped you focus in. Yeah. I've never been on these types of things.
Basically what it does is it kind of dials you in. Yeah,
gotcha.
It's not like common knowledge, like by no means like should you feel stupid about it. It's just like basically what it does, it would like kind of hone me in and push out distractions out of my head. Was the idea.
Again, so in theory, it's a good thing.
In theory, it's definitely a good thing. But again, you see people on Adderall too. Like you've been around. I guarantee you, people on Adderall, especially going to college, and these dudes are like literally like I would see some people that probably don't, like, their minds aren't meant for Adderall. Like mine, since I had ADHD and like pretty severe ADHD, the methylphenidate just kind of turned me to like close to a normal human, basically.
Gotcha.
But other people who took it that didn't need it, the Adderall literally made them a zombie. Like I'm talking 7 hours, they would be locked in at their computer. They wouldn't eat. They wouldn't be hungry, and they wouldn't want to move. They like I'm serious. I would see people sit at their desk, like in the place I stayed and whatnot, and just stare at their screen, and they'd be like, and you'd say hi to them, and they'd back to their, and they say, hey, go back to the tree. It's creepy.
Nice, dude.
It's really creepy, honestly.
Yeah.
But so basically, what I addressed, guys, I was taking this consistently for a little bit because I'm like, okay, let's see if this can help because I'm struggling this sophomore year. I'm taking chemistry and biology. I'm getting bent over by this stuff, pretty bad, and. So I stopped taking this methylphenidate, which this is not medical advice or anything like that, by the way. Let me caveat that real quick too. And that's the way I address even in my haze of anger issues, I still was like, I need to address this because I'm like, I know this is wrong that I'm lashing out and whatnot. Yeah. And I was aware of it, which is why I know that people who are angry and like lash out in real life in like, crime, etc., like at their people around them physically, whatever, I know they have awareness of the fact that it's not correct behavior.
Yeah, right.
So what
you
I
would
did
think anyway.
Exactly. So I addressed that, and I know everybody has the ability to. That is just the truth. Like you can't just sit here and say like and make excuses for people and be like, oh yeah, he murdered him just because he felt bad. He can't control it.
Yeah.
It's like what?
That's the thing with I'll just jut in here, but like that's the thing with there's people that are robbing stores with guns and these mass shootings and stuff. they always try to make excuses for the shooters.
There's always something.
He had a really tough upbringing. His mental health was not good.
I don't care.
I'm sorry, but I don't care.
I don't care. He just murdered 18 people.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay, that sucks. He had a horrible upbringing, whatever. Didn't have a father in the home. Whatever it might be. I don't care. I do not care.
No.
That is not an excuse to go out and just shoot a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Just cause. That's not how that works.
Especially in a country like the U.S., we have the awareness that certain actions are immoral or wrong. 100%.
Yes.
So that's why I knew in my head that it was wrong, because my parents had one taught me, but also because society, I had learned in school what was right and wrong a lot of times too.
Right.
And our teachers were pretty good about that. You and I were blessed with good teachers, I think, at our high school we were at too. So.
And growing up in Christian faiths.
Absolutely.
That obviously helps as well as far as the morality goes.
Right and wrong. There's a line with Christian faith, especially if you practice it correctly too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I eventually stopped taking this, and I addressed that issue, and guess what? I accepted my fate at Iowa State. I was like, I'm going to transfer back home, whatever. And I was calm about it. I didn't freak out. I wasn't crying and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And again, there's nothing wrong with. There were times, plenty of times where I was like, I'd go by myself and just cry because I was like, this is so frustrating having to deal with school and whatnot.
Yeah, dude.
And then finally, I kind of get a hold of myself. I'm like, I need to address this. I started taking that nootropic dope rush I talked about, and all of a sudden,
AML shout out, Advanced Molecular.
Yeah, absolutely, great product. But I took responsibility for my actions there, because I was like, I can't be like this. There's no way.
Yeah.
And even if it's let's say that it's not a pill causing it for you or whatever, like the methylphenidate was for me, you still have to step back and find a way to address that. Whether that's you go outside and go on a run for 2 hours, and that drains all your energy, so you can focus on other stuff the rest of the day.
Running for 2 hours.
No, sorry, that was
you're in a groove. You're in a groove. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
But even if that is your solution, is going outside and just physically punishing yourself back to back, do it.
Yeah.
Because it is your duty as a man to also harness that as well.
Yes.
And again, Wurtz and I are learning this every day as we go on. We're learning, because it's not like Wurtz and I just sit around and don't do anything, guys. And we just post videos on social media. We genuinely actively research. That's why we read books. That's why we watch or listen to podcasts. Do all this other stuff, guys, because you have to actually sharpen that sword to actually use it. And again, we're sharpening our swords so we can get to the point where our swords are as sharp as somebody like an Ed Milet or Nancy Priscilla.
Yes.
That is the absolute goal.
Yes. Come look at my bookshelf, guys.
Yeah, seriously.
You want to talk about tools that are going to sharpen your sword?
I was going to say, our collection's growing.
That's where it's at. But
yeah, that's all I got.
I mean, quite honestly, dude, I got nothing to add to that. I mean, as far as what you just talked about, your personal experience and whatnot, it doesn't pertain exactly to what we talked about earlier, guys, a few minutes ago, but it does fit into it, because having those understandings of and having that awareness of those problems that you were dealing with, in turn, it's like, I can't be a good provider.
No, you can't.
If I'm lashing out, if I'm angry and all this stuff all the time.
There you go.
You had to go out on your own, because your doctor's not going to tell you this. The pharmaceutical companies aren't going to tell you this. Like, oh no, you should definitely keep taking your medicine. Actually, let's up your dose.
That's $900 every 3 months or whatever. Yeah.
Let's up your dose, actually, is probably the solution for them. But you had to go out and you had to try and experience things on your own to figure out your own solution for what works for you. And guys, you got to be able to do that. Guys and girls, for that matter. This kind of goes into either one. But for the guys here, this all goes into a part of being the provider, because you can't if you're constantly dealing with these emotional things that you were dealing with. So I think that story, even though you weren't particularly talking about being a provider, but it fits right into it.
I mean, you kind of summarized the idea of address underlying problems, and it allows you to then be a provider.
Yes.
That's why we're talking about the duty, because you can address these issues, then to become the provider. Exactly.
Solutions. That's what it always comes down to. Well, guys, that was about 25 minutes of really, really good content on that topic. You got a fantastic, 5-6 minute story here from Gabel and his own experience. Even some things I didn't even know about right there. So that's huge, guys. That's a huge personal story of his that he just shared. So take that story, and I'm not someone that deals with ADHD, but that doesn't mean that story can't resonate with something in my life. So I guarantee for you guys listening and watching, you can find a way that fits into your life as well. So if you need to go back to the last 5-6 minutes and re-listen to that, do that, and see how he went out and found that solution for himself. Because that is what's so key to this world with so many different things, and that's why we talk about being solution based so much. So that was a really solid
Thanks, man.
Almost half hour there that we just talked about, that ending story there. Like, that was huge. That was a great episode. So for you men out there, this is a very important episode, very important topic. Even if you're not in the position to be a great provider right now, we kind of fit into that.
Yeah.
There's no reason you can't be striving and working each and every day to be that.
Push yourself towards that.
Exactly. Exactly. Guys, moving on to our Q&A, we had a couple questions here submitted from a very close family friend of mine and in my family. These are people, our moms were like best friends in high school.
Cool. Yeah.
They literally like, this was kind of funny because the new Top Gun is out, or maybe it's not in theaters anymore, but whatever. They saw the original Top Gun together years ago in theaters, so they had to go back.
Like 84 or something like that?
Something like that, eons ago.
Just centuries ago.
So they went and saw the new one together in theaters too, so that was cool. But anyway,
nice.
Really close family friends of ours, and this guy sent us a message, one of the kids did, and he's 2 or 3 years younger than us. He's actually a twin. Him and his sister are twins. But anyway, 2 questions here. We'll answer both of them. How do you guys keep the drive/fire inside of you to keep working out? The second question is, do you guys think the buddy system plays a part, because then you hold each other accountable? So those kind of fit together.
That's a great question.
But we want to answer kind of both of these and touch on both of these. So, Gabel, what would you say? How do you keep the drive and fire inside of you to keep going to the gym every single day?
I mean, the drive and fire, is pretty... It's a pretty easy answer/solution, but it's not an easy application, if that makes sense.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
That's,
I'm excited to see where you go with this.
So the reason I say that is because the whole idea is like, you just get up on days that you don't want to and do it. Sounds simple, right?
Sure.
It's not. I'm gonna let you in the info there. It's not.
Gracious,
so
yeah.
by the way, like, this is a totally reasonable question to be asking.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally understand the fire not always being there, especially after, like, I go through 75 hard and I'm like, man, there's not anything pushing me anymore. But truthfully, like, we did kind of touch on this a little bit, is in the way of, so after I kind of lost a little bit of the drive, and honestly, it happens every week. Like, there's at least 1 to 2 to 3 days where I'm like,
on and off the
not
program.
today. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the way I address it is, weirdly enough, one of the most simple solutions I use is purely stepping outside and just kind of absorbing, like, whether it's sunny or not, stepping outside and getting outside. I'm like, I don't do it today.
So literally
stepping outside. Something about the outdoors to me is very, like, I feel so connected to it, and I know you feel that.
Yeah.
Because naturally as humans, that's what we are. And this sounds so holistic or whatnot, but it's such a basic solution, because if I get outside, I'm like, okay, it's party time. Because I literally, guys, I have a field 2 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
I have a turf field 2 minutes from my house. I have no excuses whatsoever.
Sure.
So it's like, even if I don't want to lift that day, I'm like, let me go do something cool. Because the thing is, like, if you're on a program, like, one, you can use a program in your case here to keep you on track, because that program, and you start missing, you're gonna feel like shit. Yes. So it kind of calls you out in the way the program does.
Yes.
But if you're not running one and you don't want to run one, do a different workout that day. Yeah. For example, I told you guys on Wednesday, I think it was, my brother and I got outside and did bear crawls. I wasn't in the plan that day.
Bear crawls suck.
Yeah, they were. They're
tough.
It was ass.
Even just like 10-yard bear crawls, they're hard. It
was rough, dude.
Yeah.
But it was something different. I was like, let me get outside and let me activate some, fun today and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it sounds funny saying fun, getting poured on while doing bear crawls, but it really was, like, it was a good time. And so there's the idea of getting on a program, because that's going to kick you in the ass, but also the idea of getting outside and then doing something different.
Yes.
And that's going to keep you in line. That's what keeps me in line for myself, for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just like, because we kind of mentioned 75, that's something that you kind of learn to appreciate too, is just the outdoor workouts, regardless of the conditions. But, and to add to your point too, like, I don't have a turf field that close. I do have access to a few fields here around, but the parking garage has kind of become that field for me here this past month or so. Doing these speed, sprint, agility, athletic, whatever you want to call it, workouts on top of a parking garage up in the local town center here. And I love it. You're outside. There's really no buildings to give shade. So, like, if it's a very sunny, very hot day, you're in it. And it's hot. But that's something different, just like you're talking about. So I think what I'll start with answering this is continuing to do different things.
Yep.
Now, as you know, Gable, and those of you, my family and Peyton, like you guys know, I'm a very routine person.
Yep.
I'm literally someone that can do the same thing every single day for weeks and weeks on end.
If we're talking for bodybuilding results, that's actually like a really good habit to be in.
That,
so, like,
and just in general, like I eat almost the same things every day around the same times. I read my books at the same times almost every day. I go to the bathroom around the same times every day. Like I'm a very routine guy. And sometimes, and this is something I have to work on, but sometimes I get flustered if that routine gets messed up. You know, yesterday, we were planning to record this yesterday. Something came up. I got called into work. No big deal. But it was like, oh, wow, okay, today is going to look completely different than what I had imagined.
I remember you apologized to me, and because I could tell you were a little bothered by it. And I was like, Wurtz, you're good. we got Friday, bro. You know these recordings on Friday.
Exactly. So I'm a very routine person, but I do agree with switch it up. Go if you're going to go for a long walk. Go to a different location and do that. Find a different trail, a different path.
We got plenty of parks around St. Louis here.
Oh, my goodness.
So if you're in St. Louis, you use plenty of all the resources.
St. Louis County is full of bike trails, walking trails, hiking trails, all of that kind of stuff. There's different neighborhoods around that are really cool to walk through. There's lakes. I mean, it's definitely not an excuse. You're right.
Yep.
But I think the real answer to this question for me, and I've said this before, and it's sort of cliche for a former fat person, but it's just seeing that guy in the mirror. You know, I mean, you know how critical I am of myself.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Sometimes way, way, way too much. Peyton, you know it too. But seeing that guy in the mirror, like, it's a pretty easy drive to keep me going. And in ways I'm thankful for that, because that's something that I will always see. I'm thankful and I'm frustrated with it at the same time, because thankful in the way that it does. It keeps me going. It keeps that drive going. Frustrated with it because almost too much to some points, and sometimes I get in my own head so much that it can be unhealthy, you know. And I know that I'm trying to work on that as much as I can. So to answer your question, it's just seeing that guy that I used to be,
whether it's skinny or in your case
fat. Fat. Yep, either side that you come from, either side. You know, neither one of them is worse than the other or better than the other or not as good, you know, whatever it is. Like, they're both dangerous, you know, and they both are places that you shouldn't be for your whole life. So that's kind of the answers to that first one. And I think we're a perfect example for the second question. Do you think the buddy system plays a part because then you guys hold each other accountable? Absolutely.
That's pretty easy. So
yes, in
Wurtz's case, so he reached out to me. He's like, "Do you want us to go to the gym together?" Yep. We talked about this story. That absolutely works because him and I. He's like, "Dude, where are you?" If I wasn't there, and it was the same thing. Like, we go like the night before, we going tomorrow, etc.
Yes.
So it's like you can't just not show up when the dude's about to just tear you to pieces if you don't show up. So that's very easy. And also in another case, actually, so another kind of example is, so with Sam, we had Sam on, guys, obviously Sam James. So he went with me for a while in the morning, obviously, but what I knew eventually we wouldn't be able to go together, and I kind of knew the same thing with us too.
Yeah.
But in both cases, guys, you have to be able to, if you're the person, go like I was kind of like, I don't know, mentoring you guys. Like, is that
100%. Yeah, you were leading us.
Yeah, so leading you guys
showing
in that
us
case.
The ropes.
I had to like give you guys tools that if I wasn't there, you'd be able to do it.
Exactly.
So Sam's in Tulsa. He's like, I'm going 5 days a week consistently.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I'm really proud of you. Same thing with you. You, within a month, 2 months, you were ready to go. You were by yourself already.
Again, because of that, me being so routine.
Absolutely.
Once I get into one,
like, so we easily locked you in. Now it just depends on the person too, of course.
For sure.
But if you're the person, obviously in this case, that like is struggling to stay on it, use that buddy, but then learn from that buddy.
Yes.
You know, you learn from that mentor, learn from that leader that you're going with and whatnot, and then develop your own skills that you keep going every day, no matter what. Yes.
And I will say too, when you use a buddy, don't just go to hang out. Yeah. Go with the intent of getting after
sure
it.
not to do that.
Exactly. And we're not saying don't have fun, because we have our fun. We still work out together as much as we can.
I mean, our fun is dying on the hack squat together.
Well, that's what we're saying too. Yeah, like learn to add a new part to your relationship with that person. Peyton and I are at the gym at the same time every day. We're not necessarily doing the same workouts, but we're there. So that's in another way, like us holding each other accountable in that sense, you know, her and I. And so, yeah, if you're going to use a buddy system to go to the gym, use it correctly. We'll see too many situations especially like big commercial gyms. I'm sure you can agree with this.
Absolutely.
Is like a group of like 5 high school boys all together on one bench. And like maybe
it's pretty funny.
Maybe once every 5 minutes, one of them gets under the bar. And it's just like what are you here to do? Are you here to hang out or are you here to get better? You know, because then you know they're all going to go back, oh yeah, we all worked out today. Did you? Because I was there working out, and I saw you guys not working out. So, like, which is it? But, so, if you're going to use a buddy system, you have to execute that correctly and use it to get better. You know, and if you do use it to get better, let me tell you something. Your relationship with that person, whether it's with a significant other, a best friend, or whatever it might be, like, that relationship is going to strengthen so much, and you're going to add a part to that relationship that you never even knew was possible, which is awesome. Awesome. Think about some of the rucks that you and I have gone through together. Pouring rain, like literally, like lightning storms.
That was fun. I remember one clearly that was really fun, actually. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
The first time we went through 75 hard, we purposely went on a ruck at midnight while it was literally, guys, the real temperature was 4. 4. The real temperature was 4 this night. There was ice on the ground.
So bad.
And snow on the ground because it had just snowed or iced or whatever like a couple days before that. It was still there. And we went, like, I want to say we went 4 miles that day because we actually went like the long route.
We felt like bad MF.
Oh yeah,
dude. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. That's our idea of fun too.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about in a different relationship, guys. Like we developed this idea of our fun is dying on heel elevated goblet squats or hack squats or going on this disgustingly horrible idea for our health ruck and whatnot. Like, please put me in 150 degree weather and let my heart stop. Right. And that's
yeah. Be smart with this too. I guess we should say that. But at the same time, we'll have fun going to a Cardinals game.
Yep.
Or going out to dinner with the guys or watching the fights. Sure. So that's also fun. So like we're not just hardos that have to go on rucks at midnight to have fun. Like obviously,
Wurtz and I don't spend time together unless we're just dying. Yeah.
But anyway, the person that submitted these questions, first of all, we appreciate this because you gave us a big response here. Yeah. Obviously, we singled out the questions, so we appreciate that, man. We appreciate you reaching out. That takes courage to do that. And so anyone else that maybe you have questions that are similar to this, and you're maybe just a little nervous to send those, like, just do it.
Yep.
Send them over. And we'll be happy to answer and happy to offer our advice. Guys, good episode today. I tell you what, you take 40 minutes of your time, you listen to this episode, like, you're going to get better. You're going to find ways to be better in your life. If you're someone that struggles with ADHD, you had a great anecdotal story here for 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever it was. And then as far as these Q&A questions, I know that the majority of people struggle with these exact situations that this person asked about. So take our advice, take our situations that we've dealt with and that we continue to deal with too, and try to implement that into your life, in your situations, guys. Any questions, comments, or anything, reach out to us through Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Our email is also on our Instagram. It's just extricationfitness@gmail.com. Or if you know us personally, don't hesitate to create a little group chat with the three of us and send text.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, we love any feedback. We love questions like this when people reach out. So please keep that up. All right, but until next time, guys, it's our first EXGentlemen episode of Season 2. That is complete. Peace and love.
Sharpen that sword.
Boom.